Hope you're well. I bought a new drill press, pillar drill. Literally just arrived. I'm going to get this out of the box and set up, and while I do that, I'm going to tell you why I've picked up this one and what I hope it's going to do for me rather than the old one that I've spent a bit of time and effort on making good. Let's get this set up. We'll talk more in a bit. Okay, so that went together much more quickly than I was expecting. It's like rearrangement of the video structure. Yeah, this whole thing comes pretty much pre-assembled. The motor head and the housing all attached to the pillar. Absolutely nothing to do with that other than to take it out of the plastic bag. Very nice milled flat table out of aluminium, a clamp and a fence. Put the workpiece clamp onto the pillar before you put the pillar onto the table. There's a little stud, a little peg in the pillar which goes into a slot, and then you've just got to line up, center it against the hole in the middle of the table. Table's got a couple of slots in it. If we want to get picky, these slots I feel could have been wider apart. I think I don't know why they're that narrow. I'd rather, if you're going to have a fence on it, I'd rather have them more spaced out. But there we are, that's what they are. The fence is a very simple, sort of fairly rudimentary little affair, which seems to work quite well in the slots in the table. You can't, or rather you couldn't have the fence on at the same time as the workpiece clamp, so you'll have to have a think about that. You can get ordinary clamps into the slots, but of course they're going to stick up in the way a little bit. Again, just another reason to put them further out if there's ever a Mark II version of this. But overall, very well put together, no surprises, no dramas. I'm just going to, it does work differently to most pillar drills, most bench drill presses. I'll just show you the difference to my little old one that I've got here. Okay, so obviously very different styles of drill. This one much more traditional. You change the speeds on this by moving a belt onto different sized pulleys. It's been that way forever, and because it's such a faff to do, I've got to confess I just never do it. And the whole thing, I mean, this is a pig that's had a lipstick applied to it many times over. I did a bit of a makeover on it just to get it a bit more presentable, with a bigger table and a fence that worked, and a couple of T-slots, nice and widely spaced out, by the way. And that's worked okay for me, but I just wanted something that was a bit more modern, a little bit easier to use, and just had a little bit more grunt. This is only, this was a 50 quid B&Q, that's like a Home Depot sort of place. 50 quid drill press, $60, and I've had it a long time, and it's fine for what that is, but no matter how much you tidy it up and make it over, it's still a 50 quid drill press. I wanted something that's a little bit beefier, had a little bit more capacity, and was just easier to use. The depth scale on this is just a screw that you wind up and down, and there were two of them that locked, and I've lost the other one, and it's just, I just wanted something better. Not unrelated to the hand and the wrist, and we'll talk more about this another time. This is the only drill I have that has an actual chuck with a key to it, and I just want to get away from all those sorts of things. This is altogether a much more modern piece of kit. 700 and something watts. It might be 710 instead of 750. This is only 250 watt motor, so a little bit more grunt, a little bit happier to use, and just easier and more modern. You can see, you know, with this one there's a separate table that's movable. Some of them are cranked. This one isn't, so it's just a question of lifting it up and down and sort of trying to get it centered. With this one, the whole motor head assembly moves. The table is sort of static on the deck like this. You undo one of the Bristol levers at the back, and then you can alter the overall height to where you want it to be. Lock that off on the column, and then undo the head, and that gives you the depth of travel, which is terrific. So very simple dials on the front. Again, if we're going to be picky, they're a little bit plasticky and not that easy to grip, but simple enough to resolve, I would think. But we can power it up. You've got speed or millimeters. You've got a nice accurate scale on there. You can wind that down to whatever you want. You can lock it there, and then you'll always come back to that maximum depth. So if you wanted to drill 12.7 millimeter deep holes for a cup hinge with a Forstner bit, you could do that and know that you're not going to pimple through the other side if you're doing it in a 15mm board, for example. Variable speed, which is very nice on the motor, and it's 2-speed on the gears. So speed 1, which is what we're on now, goes from about 200 RPM and speed 2 on the gear will go from about 650, I think. 2500 at the top, down to about 600, 620 at the bottom. So plenty of range to play with there. There's a nice little laser, and the table bed has a little groove in it if you wanted to do keep dowels or pipes or anything static like that. So pretty nicely thought out machine. I know right now there's probably a lot of people typing in the comments that for what I paid for this, I could buy a Meddings or a Fobco Star or something. Yeah, maybe you could. I know I can't, because I've had a look and there's just nothing like that in or around London. And the main reason for me wanting something like this instead of an old traditional pillar drill is that I don't want it to be a project. The same as I did when I bought the bandsaw. I just wanted something that works. I don't want to spend a few £100 on something that then needs, turns out to be 3-phase and you've got to run it through a VFD or any of those sorts of things. I don't need an engineering grade drill press. I just want something that works, that's easy to use, and has enough power for the kind of things that I'm likely to want to do. I can see myself doing a bit more work on this. I think a bigger table of some kind. The workpiece clamp is okay, providing you're just drilling a single hole, but the fact that you can't use it in conjunction with the fence, there are probably better ways to do that, so I may not actually end up using that sort of workpiece clamp at all. I paid £220 for this on a Black Friday special. I've had my eye on them for a long time. They typically go for about £280, £300 or thereabouts, and they were down to £220 in the Black Friday sales. So I bought one. That's basically the extent of my reason for getting it. I am so shallow that a £60 discount is the difference between me being a browser and me being a buyer. But yeah, this is just a real quick first look at this. I'll have a proper play with it over the next few months, and we'll come back and we'll revisit it again. So I'm just going to drill a couple of holes in this. Got a little bit of birch ply. I can zero the readout with the cutting edge of the Forstner bit touching the plywood. Then set the depth to 12.7 millimeters. Lock it off and drill a hole. And that is not bad at all. Let's check that with a set of calipers. Okay, when it claims it's 12.71 millimeters deep, I think I should send it back. So Forstner bits worked out pretty nice. Just going to try this with a Holesaw as well. It's a 43mm Holesaw, so it's just too big for the workpiece clamp. I've got around that for now by clamping around the workpiece and through the base onto the MFT. It's not an ideal situation, I've got to be honest, but we'll give it a go and see how it goes. Might drop this down to a slower speed. Okay, so a couple of holes drilled and tested. Forstner bit worked very well. Very clean hole, lovely Bosch Pro bit. And actually the hole from the Holesaw was pretty good. If you wanted the plug, which is what I did want, it's not that great, but then that's just a very cheap and cheerful little Holesaw bit. So yeah, very pleased with that. Be interested going forwards to see how this does in comparison to the cheap and cheerful little 50 quid special, which has done me well for a long time, to be perfectly fair. But yeah, I thought it was about time for a little upgrade. And as I said before, you know, a 60 quid discount is all it takes to turn me from a browser to a buyer. Anyway, I'll call this one down for this week. Thank you so much for taking a look. It was just a quick update. And obviously there'll be more to come with this as I get to use it more. But yeah, okay. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Right, take care.